Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Tech-Mex podcast. I'm your host, Eric Ramirez, and I've got my awesome co-host here, Mando Gomez.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm pretty stuffed from all that turkey and dressing, but I'm doing pretty good here. Today we've got episode number 23, and we've got just some interesting news that we're going to bring back to you about our buddy Sam over there. So let's get into it. Dale.
Dale. Man, we saw it coming, right? We discussed last week, and it's just shocking to me. Like, guess what? Sam Altman is back. And if you watch our previous episode from last week, we speculated a couple things that happened, right? But here's the amazing thing. He came back right away. I was foreseeing to be able for him to come back eventually when the company, maybe like a Steve Jobs type of a move. But I didn't foresee that it will be like in days, right? And I think that is because maybe the TikTok generation.
That's pretty true. It's like it happened just like that. It's just very interesting. Like I think they had like the seller's remorse. Is that a thing? They let him go, and they instantly got this like backlash from everybody. Everybody is like, "Hey, are you okay, OpenAI? Like, what's going on over there?" And I think they noticed that people were just like questioning it like crazy. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like you mentioned last week in one of our videos, is like he's done so much in so little time for something that's going to be like this huge technology moving forward. It's like, how can you just like that let him go?
Let
It
him
doesn't
go, yeah.
really, it didn't make any sense at all, and everybody was questioning it. But I think we've gotten a few bits and pieces here about what was causing it. Did you hear about any of that?
Yeah, in pieces, right? Like, and that's maybe what we can discuss because the PR, right, the press releases, they said that they have reached an agreement in principle. Basically, involves kicking out some people from the board. Just for some of the people that they are not aware, when you are the founder, you basically through the years you start losing chunk of your company, right? And the average, just for you to let you know, is usually 15% to 20%. Even that you started the company from the beginning, as you're bringing more investors, then you start actually diluting. And basically, some of these investors, they might be institutions, and they put people as part of the board of the table. So in that way, they can basically make the votes, right? That's what it happened to him. He was a minority at some point, and yes, he has some vote, but it didn't have the weight, right? And that's the reason why kind of they were able to kind of kick him out. So that was interesting that they actually, and obviously there are some speculations. What do you know about it?
Yeah. So, just because it happened so quickly and abruptly, a lot of people were thinking that, hey, there's something going on the inside. I met, I was talking with some other tech folks, and they're like, hey, there's some drama going on back there, and we started talking about it, and they were saying that there's this person, Helen Toner, that was on the board, and she had recently written up or published a paper that was basically saying, hey, OpenAI is not doing a good job in terms of the safety aspect of AI. And so
Mm-hmm.
she was saying bad things about it. Sam Altman called her out on it and said, hey, look, you're on the board for OpenAI. Why are you saying these bad things to the public? That's not a good look for us as on the board. Stop doing that. But she felt that she was doing her duty, and she was being altruistic for the future of humanity and things like that. Well, now we come to find out, I think we mentioned a little bit about GPT-5.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it turns out that I think there's some of the researchers that are working on this GPT-5, right? They have coined this thing called Q Star, which is basically a baby Terminator, kind of like what we said last time. Terminator's coming. They got baby Terminator here going. Basically, this Q Star is now able to do like some basic grade school math, whereas before it was maybe not as good at it, but now it can do it pretty well. And so this is really the beginnings of an AGI or a general use AI that can really work for anything, just kind of out the box without having to do any explaining. It can teach itself some
Yeah.
things like that. So this is what they think precipitated this whole drama with, we got to get rid of Sam Altman because he's going down the path of Terminator or Skynet or whatever the case is. And
Mhm.
so, and so they think that's what happened. And in all of this, they say her goal was to try to bring down OpenAI and have it bought by Anthropic, which earlier on, there were some people that defected from OpenAI, I think, and started Anthropic. And Anthropic is just another AI company, but their big focus is on safety. It's like their number one thing. And so that's what they're thinking she was trying to orchestrate. So there's a lot of things going on, like in the background. We still don't have super clarity, but that's what some of the stuff that's coming out here is that, she orchestrated this thing to bring Sam Altman down because she thought, yeah, Terminator's coming and we need to do something now. And this
Yeah.
is what caused all that.
A lot of the memes that they came out, it was for the Microsoft CEO, where basically they twisted their arm, right? Because they shell out a lot of money to be able to include them in all of the Microsoft products, right? Like Bing and Office and all of the different products that they are getting powered by OpenAI slash ChatGPT. So good for the company that Sam Altman is going back, because he wasn't only him; it was also his co-founder that he basically resigned it to, right? So Sam Altman tweeted, "I am looking forward to returning to OpenAI," right? So in Twitter, so formerly known as X, or now
All right.
X, I guess. So yeah, it's interesting how all of the drama is playing out in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, crazy. And one of the things I was trying to get to use the Chat GPT-4, but it was down. I couldn't get to it. I'm like, oh my goodness, all this drama. I'm not going to be able to use Chat GPT, and is it going to go down and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, but no, I think it's working again, and yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on GPT-5. When are they going to
Yeah,
release that?
the first time, yeah, exactly. The first time that I read it, I thought that was Asterix.
Oh, that's right. And if you see it, it's actually the letter Q, right? And
And
then the little asterisk.
in the
That's what they're
little
calling Q
Asterix.
star. Mm-hmm.
Yes, but they yeah, actually sounds more fun. Q star, yeah, yeah. So let's go for it. I want to do some math with it.
Word problems. Oh man, if we can do word problems, it's gonna do good.
Yeah, and everybody that hasn't played if you are like trying to do math, it's like dumb, right? Like also like when you're playing with Dali that they cannot draw the hands, it's kind of the joke, right? Like they cannot do math neither. But
That's
now
kind of
it's probably maybe
so
that's the reason
funny.
though, that because he cannot
Can't
do the
count.
fingers, can't count with the
Trying to
fingers.
get 1, 2, 3. It's like
But
my
because
fingers.
they have like 15 fingers or whatever, it's like, yep, that's what is messing up the algorithm. It needs
Q
to be able
star's
to
gonna
create.
fix it.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
too funny.
So moving on to the next topic, though, if you think about it, we created these tools, but guess what? Cyber criminals, they also can use these tools, right?
Yeah.
And they're becoming very effective. I mean, there are a bunch of news around that they are becoming very, very clever. What's your point there? What do you think about all of this?
Well, I mean, we mentioned in one of the previous podcasts, like, these tools like ChatGPT and things like that, they're going to have access to all this information, right? They can make super persuasive arguments. They can fix your text and things like that. Right now, when we get spam email and things like that, you're like, they misspelled the easiest words, and it's like they put a period instead of comma. You can tell that something is fake. But just like
Yeah.
all the school children know, just plug in your stuff into Chat GPT and it'll fix it. So obviously, our buddies over there trying to what are the Nigerian princes and the folks in the call centers, they're going to be able to figure that out also and send us even better scams.
Yeah, I mean, because some of these, like this email is coming from Wells Fargo, right? Or you
Mm-hmm.
put your bank there of choice, and now it's gonna look legit, right? Like no grammar errors, things like that. So, and the thing is that you can ask ChatGPT to use a very persuasive messages, right? And obviously they are trying to make it super urgent. So in that way, it's like, oh, my password got stolen, right? Like I need to be able just to check, and you click the link, and it's like crap. right?
Oops.
You are putting your password in a phishing website, right? That's how it's called, phishing. So, and they're trying to get all of your information, and then suddenly they forward it to the real bank, and it looks like you are like a log out. So yeah, it's the whole thing is becoming very very interesting for everyone that needs to be able to pay attention, right?
Yeah. If y'all remember Dennis from like one of our very first episodes, Dennis is out there trying to get into your Facebook. He's going to be sending you lots of messages and they're going to look legit. And you know what? Imagine like ChatGPT can also has the Dolly integration now. It can create these like super good looking images that look like they're actually from a bank or actually from Facebook or actually from a social media. Man, it's going to be super hard to distinguish. I think we're going to need better tools to try and figure this out because it's going to be super hard here, y'all.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's like you pay attention to. I mean, this is just a normal security, right? Pay attention that is secure, right? That has the lock on the browser. Uh, if you are trying to see any messages, whether in SMS, like if it's like super urgent or like immediately, like usually corporations don't speak like that, right? They are more formal and all that. So think again when you're trying to make an action, or even better, just call the institution, right? If American Express is reaching out to you or any bank, just call them directly. They know you based on your phone number instead of trying to do it, because the other one is through QR codes or links, because they try to obfuscate, they try to shorten the links, so you don't even know. But yeah, that's how they're getting you. So be careful, watch out.
Yeah. And if the emails seem like too good to be true, like, hey, you just won a new Apple computer from Wells Fargo, it's like, that makes zero sense. Like, you got to question that stuff because a lot of it is not even like technical hacking. It's just like social hacking,
It
right?
is social, yes.
They're just trying to get you to click or get to their website, get your password, get more information. You just
Or
never know.
freebies, exactly, your discounts, right? Like a 90%, or you only put $1 and you just get a whatever, right? So yeah, any kind of crazy deals like that, just be wary of those. Very likely that is scams.
Yeah. Well, speaking of clicking links and stuff like that, what do you think all of this ChatGPT and all of this new chatbot technology is doing to our buddies over at Google?
Man, that I think that's a big problem, right? And I feel that Google is dying. And it's very, yeah. I mean, I'm a Google fan, right? So but I'll tell you, I haven't used it. I have a ChatGPT window, and I'm been using for weeks, right? So I think that there is a quote from this guy that he was one of the leaders. He was saying basically that Google was just meant for present you a click and get you a link to be able to click on it for the advertising.
Mhm.
All of the Most of the revenue from Alphabet, which is the parent company for Google, it has come from advertisement, right? Even YouTube as well. It's just advertisement, and I do feel that they are missing the beat. We have all of this drama with OpenAI. They are moving at massive speed, right? And I mean, you have played with Bart,
Art.
so it's not that great, right? So but yeah, that's what I think. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem, like you said, Google is dying. That's a premise. Like, this is going to keep getting harder and harder for them just because there's going to be more and more chat GPTs out there, right? Eventually, like,
Hmm.
everyone's going to have their own version of a chatbot. That's the whole goal, is to prevent you from having to go through and click through things, where that's Google's whole business model, is to get you to click on stuff. And so Google's going to have to figure out strategically, how do they get around this, or can they get around this, or how do they monetize in a different way, because yeah, it's going in the opposite direction, and they've got to be able to adjust or pivot in some way. ChatGPT is getting better, stronger. I think Microsoft, by the way, got super excited when all this drama at OpenAI happened, right, with Sam Altman and things like that. They're like, we're going to hire all of OpenAI's employees. I think I read somewhere that they called HR. They're like, hey, we got to set up a desk. OpenAI, everyone's coming to Microsoft. Get the laptops ready, get their offices ready, get their desks ready. they're all coming. All however many there's like 600 or 700 employees over at OpenAI. Microsoft was ready. They were just like gonna write out checks. Yeah, buddy, come on over. We're ready for you. And then everything just got to reverted back. That's Microsoft sees the writing on the wall. They understand this is a huge shift in the way things are working. Google, I'm sure, is shitting their pants because they're like they gotta do something. And while they do have they kicked off a lot of this technology themselves, right? A lot of this,
Hmm.
it's just they didn't act on it. And so Bard and then all of this, they have a lot of imaging AI technology that they've used at Google. They know what they're doing over there. It's just like they got caught on their heels and now they're trying to play catch up. We'll see kind of how it all plays out.
Yeah, and maybe you people haven't realized, but the two CEOs, they are Indian. There is a wave because there is a lot of Indians in tech industry that now you're seeing them to be in some of these CEO position, right, in a C-suite. Satya, Indian, right, and as well Sundar from Google. It's going to be interesting how the whole dynamic is going to play out. But I think that the benefit that Satya has is that he's still getting coached by Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates is still kind of a
Like a
very very. I
mentor or
mean,
something.
yeah, it's like and dude, it's Bill Gates. Whether we like it or not, he was the richest man in the world for a long time.
He's a tech godfather.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like I think that now that he's older, he's more altruistic, right? With his foundation and everything. But yeah, he's still there is a lot of stories. Maybe we should make an episode on him because now lately he has been buying land. He
Land is his
actually
big
is.
thing.
Yeah, that right now that's his thing, right? He's like literally buying back like a land to be able, and he's renting it out to farmers. But anyways, I think that going back to AI, Google has to be able to bring up their game because if not, they're gonna eat their lunch. They are eating their lunch already.
I think so. They're gonna need start asking for more lunch money because, yeah, big bully OpenAI, ChatGPT, and Microsoft, they're getting what they want. So,
Yep.
but we'll see. What are some of the other impacts you think of, like this ChatGPT, OpenAI technology? If you think
Look,
about it,
another one is maybe we don't need to have like 5-day work week, right? Or maybe some people do 6 weeks on 6 days, like up to Saturday. So maybe it might shrink. I have noticed it with when I was working in different companies, they will give us some Fridays off,
hmm
right? So because, and I think that this works when you have intellectual work. Obviously, if you are like in a more physical kind of work, it's like if you're like our friend Rico, right? Like if you're a barber or some things like that, you have to do it in person.
yep.
But for some virtual remote type of intellectual work, I think that helps to be able to have a little bit more time to be able to just recharge. So maybe we're gonna start seeing companies adopting a 32 hour week instead of 40-hour work week. What do you think?
Hey, I'm all for it. No, but I think I've always thought it was kind of weird that okay, we as humans, right? There's that saying, you don't live to work, you work to live, right? And so the split, I always thought it was a little off. The 5 days of work and the 2 days weekend, right? It should be a little bit more even. 4 and 3 is probably fine. So why not?
So
And
you would think for basically, yeah, I guess 3 and 4, right? It's not, there is no specific middle.
you could do 3.5 days, but but you know what I think has also kind of taken us a step in that direction is the whole work from home, the working
Hmm.
remotely. You essentially you get a little bit of extra, maybe a little bit extra time, especially if you don't have to do the whole commute thing and things like
Hmm.
that. Maybe you can be a little bit more efficient in some ways, or get a couple extra hours of work in because you're not doing this whole commute. So, I mean, we're already taking little baby steps in there. So maybe that's the way. And AI, just in general, is going to become easier to use. They're going to be more efficient. People are going to think up of new ways of using it. So I think that's something that could be pretty interesting. And in some of the news that came out with this Sam Altman stuff and the OpenAI, and this baby Terminator, or this new AGI stuff coming out, they're saying that the singularity, or the age of the super AI computer is getting moved up quicker and quicker. So I think
Yeah.
we talked about singularity was maybe planned in the 40s, right? Now they're saying like, early 30s. Now it could be like, at the end of the 20s, we're going to have something that can really take over a lot of the knowledge worker work that goes on, just because, it's all about taking notes or putting documents together, maybe coming up with ideas for a better strategy. What's the most efficient way to organize your teams? What are some interesting new products to try and invest in? AI should be able to do that fairly easily, and then give probabilities, especially now with this newfound math capabilities. You know, to optimize for the perfect output or a really good product to have better engagement with your customers. I mean, it could go on and on. It can do all of it instantly, just about. So at least in comparison to a person doing it.
Hmm.
So it's going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen with all the knowledge workers. And OpenAI, ChatGPT type products are going to be able to do a lot of that for us. Now, I think the idea behind some of that is that we're going to be someone has to use the tool. ChatGPT is only a tool, but of course, when we get to that singularity part, or when there's this general use AI, it may not need an operator, right? It can operate on its own, and I think that's the key. The key difference is it'll switch from being used as a tool to it's using itself as a tool. It can create new chat agents or GPT agents with all by itself, just depending on what its goal is. So
Yeah.
that's what we're
And
moving towards.
I think that is like first it was kind of the engine to be able to think, right? Now they're incorporating vision, and they release just this week a way to be able to speak. So I think that is getting all of these senses, right? The whole algorithm. I think that at some point it needs the body. so,
Our buddy
so
Elon's working on that.
yes, which is actually Elon Musk, right? And Tesla, they are working already on the robot. So I think that now we are seeing where all of these technologies will converge. And imagine your Alexa will say, "Hey, Alexa, clean up my dishes, right? And wash the dishes, right?" So it will be able to do operations like that, right? So which is kind of converging all of the tech. Uh, but moving on to some of the hardware, I think that have you heard the company BYD? Not a lot of
Mm.
people is familiar with that company.
Yeah, I mean they're another electric company, right? It's a Chinese car company basically, but for EVs.
Yeah, and the part that I didn't know because when I was doing some of this research, is that they are huge, man. They literally they are the EV leader. I mean, there is a 60% of the total production of EVs in China. Is this company?
Mm-hmm.
There are some comparisons, and they actually are taking the crown from Tesla. Or they,
Oh,
they were just yeah, that was a big thing that they were only shy 3,000 cars production wise versus Tesla. There are some differences, though. I mean, their car, they're going for the economics.
okay, I see what you're saying.
So it's like 73,000 yuan, which is equivalent to maybe almost 10K, right? US dollars.
Man, that's how
Uh,
much a battery costs. Just a battery. I don't
yeah,
know how they're doing
basically,
that.
and yeah, it's like hard to know, but that's how they are competing in that spectrum, right? Tesla is a little bit more luxury, and these guys are more cheaper. They look like that though. They look like a $10,000.
What does it look like? Straight edge, boxy looking vehicle, like a
No, it
Cybertruck?
looks like a Prius, man.
Hey, the new Prius actually looks kind of. They jazz it up a little bit. It looks a little bit
Yes,
more
you
like
know.
a Model 3, I think. Yeah.
All right,
No,
all
let's
right.
talk about the original Prius. Yeah, that was a little rough.
Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like a so flimsy that maybe between you and me we can actually lift it and park it.
That's how you can get into those tight parking spaces, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, it's like, hey, Ramirez, just get out. Like we we just move it ourselves. Yeah, but yeah, I think that I mean Tesla it has right now what three models. Obviously with the Cybertruck it will be the different one, but they have the sedan, the X, the Y, and the uh and the S, I guess, right?
Yeah, they got the sexy. That's what it spells, right? S. Oh, they're missing the. Oh no, the E is a three. S, Model 3, Model X, which is their larger SUV, Model
Mm-hmm.
Y, which is their smaller SUV, and then now the Cybertruck, which is being announced next week, yo. It's coming.
It's coming. It's coming. Yeah, but I think that it's good. In my opinion, it's good that there are more companies building this because now the trick is the batteries, right? Because it is kind of the 50-60% of the value of the car is the cost of the battery itself.
Mhm.
So I think that now having more automakers, we have to get better on creating better technology for the batteries.
Is
But
BYD selling over here in the US as well, or is it mainly just everywhere except the US? Because I don't think
I'm
I've
not
ever
sure.
seen a BYD
Yeah,
here in the US.
I just know the news, right? But it's usually I was under the impression that it's in China, but
Mhm.
still, maybe some of the places where China has a lot of stake, right? So yeah, maybe in Asia.
Mhm. Okay. Well, I mean, there's competition is always good. It's going to drive, for things to get better for the consumer. So I think it'll be a good thing. Tesla, while they are a very good company and they do sell very good vehicles, there's always room for improvement. And I know I've mentioned lots of things here on the podcast where they can improve on. So, but they're getting there. So I think BYD being basically maybe overtaking them, maybe it'll make Tesla kick things up a notch so we get, some better products out of them. So
Mm-hmm.
it's only going to be a good thing.
Yep. So now let's move to crypto.
Yeah.
There is more drama there, man.
Man, there's always drama in crypto.
Like when we were trying to build this pod, right? It's like I was telling Eric, like, man, are we gonna have enough topics to be able to talk about? And it's like this, but like politics, right? You only have two parties and only the same politicians, and they just come up with news and news from the same thing, and I feel the same. So
Yeah, exactly. Well,
there is this company called Binance, and we are a crypto head, right? We really like crypto, and we have been like 10 years plus in the industry. And you see some of these big players like Binance. Um, do you want to say the name of the CEO?
his name is CZ, right? That's at least that's
Yeah,
his
right. Come
name,
on, man.
right? Okay, Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao. I got it. I got
You
it.
got it. You
CZ
got it.
Changpeng Zhao. Well, he got reprimanded. Got his hand slapped by the SEC. So I think he's got to pay a fine. No jail time or anything like that, like what we've heard with some of the others. But
I
yeah,
mean, it's 10 years, man. They are saying that he might get up to 10 years. I don't think that he will, and maybe that's the drama that we are seeing, right? Speculating here.
mhm.
Uh, let's do some conspiracy theory here. Maybe our buddies from BlackRock, that we already speculated that they move everything, they might
Yeah.
be able to just say, you know what? Let's get rid of all of these different players, and they can just keep kind of their investment on Coinbase. Because you were mentioning to me that they had a huge stake
Yeah.
on Coinbase, right?
So you're a lot of people, if you're in crypto, whatever, you have seen Coinbase, right? That is going to be like the big daddy of the remaining of the remaining exchanges out here, right? We've seen like FTX go down, we've seen Celsius go down, we've seen several of these places go down. By the way, it doesn't look like Binance is going anywhere. It's not like going bankrupt or anything like that. It's just the SEC has decided to fine them because they didn't follow all of the correct KYC AML laws out here, right? So that's what they got into trouble for. But the theory behind some of this is that BlackRock is here kind of manipulating the U.S. governmental agencies to make sure that, because they know when that spot ETF gets approved, it's going to
Hmm.
be a wave. It's going to be a wave of money coming into Bitcoin and crypto, specifically Bitcoin, because that's what their ETFs are. There's some
Hmm.
others also, but it's going to be a lot of a big Bitcoin wave, right? So they want to make sure Coinbase is going to be the leading the leading exchange, because that's the one that they're backing. I think it's actually like 40% of
Oh
their
wow.
so, anyways, so BlackRock is like, like, hey, let's get Binance US out of the way. By the way, Binance operates all over the world, right? And they have like a Binance US. So if anything happens, it might be their US arm of Binance that's going to be affected. But we're still kind of waiting to see if there's any kind of trickle down effects of that. But right now, it just seems to be like a $4 billion fine for not doing what they were supposed to. Basically, they have to collect all the information from anybody that's using their services, and maybe they didn't do it as well as they're supposed to. So
Yeah, which
that's what's
that's
going
what
on
it
there.
stands for, right? For people that don't know, AML is basically anti-money laundering. So obviously, because maybe you might have some users in the platform that they were selling drugs, and they wanted to know where they're getting that money. And the other one
Mhm.
is the KYC, which it stands for Know Your Customer. So again, it's just trying to make sure that they are not terrorists, or they are trying to figure out so that way they cannot funnel this kind of bad money.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
By the
I
way,
think.
CZ
Mhm.
is worth like 50-60 billion dollars just on his own. That's probably pocket change for him. He's like, don't worry, y'all, I got this. It's a 4 billion.
Put it on my tab.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah,
uh,
I think that it's more about if he gets prison, and because he was asking, if you see some of the news, he was asking to the judge, "Hey, can I get out to just go home?" Like I think that
it's the
he
holidays, right? Hey,
it's like instead of going to jail right on Christmas. So we'll see. We'll see what is the outcome of that. But it's big news on the crypto space.
yeah, definitely. Well, either way, he ended up stepping down, right? So he's not the leader anymore there at Binance. I think that's one of the concessions he's made. Is like, you know what? You in general understand a lot of these rules going into it, and you're like, hey, there's just a lot of uncertainty in all the regulations in the US, so that's also what kind of led to some of this. But he kind of knew what he was doing, so he was like, I'm going to make as much money as I can while these regulations are kind of like in flux. He knew this was coming. He probably had this plan. He knew that his time was short. He's like, you know what, I'm going to take out SBF, FTX on my way out. So, I can get some of their funds and things like that. So I think SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, the guy that's going to jail for like up to 120 years with the FTX scandal, like just 120 years, right? Yeah, he was trying to get CZ to buy FTX, but CZ was like, I don't think so, man. That's not going to happen. I know what's going on over there, because more than likely CZ had something to do with it, you know?
Yeah,
The same way that we think BlackRock has something to do with Binance, I think CZ had something to do with what happened with FTX. So it's just a
yeah,
big circle, and the money is going to kind of move around. But in the end, BlackRock's the big daddy. They know what they're doing. They've done this 1,000 times, right? They're going to be the big winners here. And CZ from Binance is, he's like, okay, you know what? I'll pay the fine. I'll step down as CEO. Hopefully, we're not doing jail time. I'm going to go back home, chill with my homies, and we're done. And he
yeah,
made his money, and he can do whatever he wants after that.
yeah. I mean, he can spend his life with all of the billions that he has remaining. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that I mean, we have been here in the industry for a while, right? And do you remember this company, Empty Gox? Like literally 10 years ago, almost.
They were the original big daddy in the crypto scene.
Yes, and they were about moving 80% of the all of the Bitcoin in circulation in that time. It was passing through that exchange. It was very very hard for people before Coinbase to be able to buy Bitcoin. You have to mine it
Yep.
basically, or just like there was another company called Bitcoin Local, if I remember.
Bitcoin Local, Bitstamp. There's
Uh-huh.
quite a few of them,
So,
but they
but
were all small time
very,
operations.
very small ones in that time. So basically, what happened with that company, MTGOX, they originally they were to be able to trade cards, and that's because they already have an exchange. They changed it to be able to exchange crypto.
So
So
that's MTGOX Magic the Gathering. So
that's
that's
right.
cards, like physical, like cards. They were a card trading site. Yeah.
Yeah, like Dungeons and Dragons type of those cards, right? To be able to play around like those type of games, and they had the engine. So like, well, we should just start like allowing people to buy and sell Bitcoin, and they became, like we said, very big. Well, the problem is that they had a bug in their systems, and hackers actually start draining Bitcoins. In some point, I have coins there, and some of our friends as well, and they lost a shit ton of coins.
Yeah.
In some point, nobody could actually get out their coins. So and literally, they closed the company, right? And it's taking almost 10 years because this has been in Japan. So sometimes we shed in our laws, right? Like, hey, the government is not doing their job. But guess what? I mean, 10 years is a long time.
We've come a long way with kind of what we started with MTGOX to kind of where we are now with FTX and Binance and things like that, Celsius.
Yeah. So and exactly. So and guess what? I didn't learn my lesson. Later there was a BTC, right, which also was shut down, and after that there was Cryptsy, and then there is just a serious. That's the reason why I'm not too against having corporations, right, like Fidelity or maybe BlackRock, because they have been in the business for a while. They understand the government. They understand the regulations. Yes, it makes it a little bit more friction, but I think that play out between the old school of banking plus all of this new, it's very likely that they will remove a lot of the friction that we currently have on the banking industry. So I think that is good for the financial products. But yeah, right now it's just the Wild West, and I'm just so tired that these corporations just getting destroyed, right? Because they're not doing the minimum, which is like, come on, man, just at least know your customer. Know who's sending you the freaking money.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, these big players are going to at least know the minimums. But, even they're not immune to this stuff, right? We've seen bank collapses, for a very, very long time. We all know that the current system also has issues with following the rules and things like that. And that's why there's all these regulatory bodies that exist, because they need to be doing auditing, things like that. That's what's going to keep us, at least for the most part, afloat. Of course, Bitcoin itself has some built-in, I guess, safeguards, especially if you're holding your own coins and things like that, where you will be immune to some of that. But I think it'll be a good mix of the old and the new moving forward. I think it does make a lot of sense. So,
Yeah.
like, so I've mentioned before also, like, Celsius, I had some funds in Celsius, and I think their bankruptcy proceedings also just finished up, so we should be hearing something here pretty soon. Maybe in January we might start getting something back. So at least the percentage is okay. I think maybe 60 to 70% we might get back in terms of the funds that we had locked up in there or lost in there. So that's pretty good news. And hey, what's really weird, have you heard this retail clawback stuff on some of
No,
these exchanges? So like,
no.
if you saw what was coming, right? You're like,
Uh-huh.
hey, they're getting pretty slow on returning funds and things like that. And you're like, this looks fishy. I'm taking my money out, and then like a couple weeks later, it goes bankrupt. They're doing retail clawback. So as part of like the bankruptcy proceedings, the lawyers are actually getting that money back from people that took it out. So I'm like, oh wow, that's pretty
That's kind
crazy.
of,
So
yeah, that's kind of weird though, because maybe they're doing it because they feel that you have some insider information.
could be. Hmm.
But it doesn't make sense, to be honest, because like if you were able to see it, I don't know, it's a very hard pill to swallow for me because you are able to dodge the bullet, but it's like, no, no, no. You have to to be
Like,
here in order for me to
oh,
shoot you.
that was a little coincidental, buddy. Let's get that money back. I'm sure there's some stipulations around it, right? Like if it
Hmm.
was a certain amount or whatever the case is, right? But yeah, it's pretty interesting. So, um, so I mean, it helps a lot of people, you know. But I guess it's a way of getting some of those funds back from the general public and then like redistributing it. So I don't know
Yeah.
how that's going to work exactly, but
There is
they're trying
something
to make
interesting.
people whole.
Yeah, there's something interesting about empty gogs because right now it's all again in the news because they say that they're going to start repaying after 10 years.
Hmm.
So they went bankrupt, and usually there is laws for bankruptcy. But here is the funny thing because crypto was going bananas on that time, the company had more funds, and it didn't make sense actually to be bankrupt because the value of the Bitcoin was up, right? So
Hmm.
what the trustee in Japan did, it was selling enough Bitcoin to be able to repay everything that they lock it down. If I remember, they lock it down to $400 per Bitcoin. So they had all of the money to be able to pay all of the lock price of $400 in some point, because obviously now the price is $38,000. So the remaining they can return it as BTC. It is speculating that maybe they're gonna return between 16% to 23%. They don't know, right?
Hmm.
But we'll see. We'll see. A lot of the original hodlers, Bitcoin hodlers, those are the OGs.
The OG holders. Well, hopefully everything works out. I know they've been trying to get to this point for a while of releasing kind of the funds that were locked up and tied up in the bankruptcy. What was the guy's name? Is that Carpellis? The OG
Mark
guy?
Orpelix. Yeah, like
Carpellis.
dude, there is a lot of memes when the guy was going into his office, like, "What is my crypto? Give me my crypto!" Right? And there is even another guy confronting in front of him. Is like, and the guy and Mark Orpelix is just like drinking his like a Starbucks or a Cueva Lake coffee.
Carpellis was he's a French guy, right?
If it was, yeah, it's very, very weird because a French dude living in
In
Japan,
Japan.
right, and doing kind of this Bitcoin thing, right? So, I mean, the guy is sharp to be able to create it, but he just made a mistake. I think that he didn't have the right person to or the right team to be able to have security. That was basically what happened. If he would have like the top-notch security, he will be the Coinbase, right? He was the main company in that
Yeah.
time. So
Just maybe grew too fast, couldn't keep up with the amount of volume that was coming in, and then thought they were going to be okay and cut corners. Who knows what it is? But yeah, you have to have top notch security on all of these exchanges.
hmm,
Um, so I mean, that's what's going to keep things safe.
yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, I think that's all we got for today. If you like our content, just be sure to like, subscribe, comment. I know we're hearing lots of comments lately, so it's good to hear some of the engagement that we've got in the community. I think it's pretty good. Any closing thoughts, Mondo?
Yeah, I think that we should make an episode on the comments, and then we'll start bringing up some of the comments.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We should start bubbling up some of the most popular comments. So make sure to get your your comments in, and maybe you can make one of the upcoming episodes. Well, hey, well that's all we've got for today. Keep doing it sin miedo, y'all. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye,
Sin
y'all.
miedo.